Okay, I use a graphics program similar to Photoshop called, I don't even want to say the name of it, but the acronym is GIM and the last letter. I don't even want to say it because the acronym spells a word which is stupid. And I'm not into self-deprecation, so I'm not going to say the name of the software that I use, but people who use it will know the one I'm talking about. It stands GIM and the last letter stand for GNU, which is some manner of software development, image manipulation, and the last letter I just don't even want to talk about. Anyway, I don't want to spell the word. So I'm using that software as an alternative to Photoshop. Now Photoshop is the flagship software of this genre. You can do anything with it. I'm pretty good at it, but I'm using an alternative. And the alternative, the best alternative, seems to be this software that I'm using. And it's awful. Technically, it's great. It could do anything you want, more or less. And there are other people who are involved in its development because it's open source. There are other people involved in its development who have made add-ons to it that make it do a lot of stuff which is handy. But the way that it is put together is awful. It is like, I used this analogy when I was describing it to someone else. It's like a homemade Ferrari. Okay, it's like imagine a car which has been made by someone at home, which has all of the performance that a Ferrari can provide, but it's so basic and bog standard that, you know, the pedals are carved out of wood, and they're not well done. They're just sort of rough hewn. And let's say that you have to start it by putting two bits of wire together. You know, it's everything's there, but it's awful to use. Now the reason I don't want to use Adobe Photoshop is because that's also started to become awful because of the meddling fingers of developers. But I've got to say, it is still superior in function to this heap of whatever called, with the acronym GIM, and I don't even want to spell the whole word. First of all, it seems to me that developers as a whole are low self-esteem individuals. And they talk about themselves and their products in the most ridiculously stupid, self-undermining terminology, or in terms. So, for example, there is, as I probe into this field, because I have to try to get used to software because it's so bad, I want to get into software development because they just need shaking up. They have a, what's it called? A discussion forum on this kind of thing. GitHub, right? And GitLab. Now, as an Englishman, I know what the word, that G word, at the front of that expression means, and I don't want anything to do with it. But software developers seem to just hate themselves so much that they're happy to use stupid terminology to describe their work and efforts, which they shouldn't. Anyway, I have to go through this to look at what they're doing, to understand it. But I want to make comments on the way that this program I'm using works. It's absolutely awful, and you can tell it's designed by developers, right? Not graphical artists. There's no way that they have a graphical artist leading them. It's the same as you couldn't design a plane without a pilot. A pilot would take up your prototype, land it, and say, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's good, but that's wrong and that's wrong. Change it all and you'll have an effective plane. When it comes to this program I'm using, it's mastered by the greasy hands of developers, and they can't. As I got to say, in my opinion, developers are people mostly who don't like themselves at the moment. They are the geeks, the nerds, the guys who focused only on programming, and they just have no social understanding. They just have no self-esteem. It's awful. And if you try and take their baby that they've created away from them, they hiss at you, you know. And getting people like that to involve the people who are the end user of a product and to listen to what they're saying is hard, because I'm sure that when you try to do that with these people, they go, no, this is how it should be. And because they logically know that what they've produced is extremely good in terms of its logical function, they don't understand that the end user won't use it the way they're producing it. So they've produced this fabulous software, which is probably, in terms of, you know, dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's, is probably perfect, but it's completely hideous and unusable. It's like I'm positively certain that, hopefully, still nowadays, I'm sure traditionally, but nowadays, Lord knows what's going on all over the world in manufacture and design. You'd have in Ferrari's design department, they have drivers. They have drivers, not just, you know, run-of-the-mill. They have drivers, people who know the guts of how to drive a car, not make a car, not make it run, not fool around with the engine, but they know how to drive. Now, those people are indispensable when designing a car. But some people, engineers, scientific guys, people who are technically amazing, will sit there and say, this car is perfect, and a driver will say, no, it's not. And they will have to take these guys out on a racetrack to show them how bad their design is. Even though technically it's probably elite, it doesn't drive well. And then he'll take them out, throw them around the racetrack, go back into the pit, and they'll be like, oh, okay, I see what you mean now. And they'll go away and change it. This software that I'm using is clearly bereft of graphical artists in the design process. And you can tell that these developer guys are preciously guarding it from such influence, and they need to open up. And if they did, they would beat Photoshop to pieces. They would blast Photoshop out of the sky. The problem is leadership. I don't think that this software developing team that's doing this has effective leadership. They have technically competent leadership, but they don't have effective leadership because it's not a money-making scheme. Now, Adobe, as the alternative, Adobe Photoshop, has leadership, but the problem is it's gone down the other channel, which is an economic enterprise which has decided that the customer doesn't matter. It's a different form of intellectual tyranny over the end user. So again, and the problem is the same. The end user can't get to Adobe because Adobe said, no, we're a business. We know best. And that's what businesses nowadays are doing. We know best. And we'll also shove our social impact stuff into the product as well, if they can. And it's just changed everything from useful to garbage. Absolute garbage. So in two fields, the open source software development field and also the economic enterprise field, that is, you know, making money from software, both fields are ruined for a similar reason. There is a complete distance, for want of a better expression, between the end user and the developer. Adobe used to pay attention to the user more so than they do now, and then they've drifted off into fantasy land where they all think that they're wonderful, and all the developers who work for them are going, yes, yes. So it's going down the same road. It's a different route, but it's going to end up in the same place, unusable software. So the software I'm using is ruined. What's the answer? It's going to take some force to get the developers in both situations to connect with the end user and listen to them. Because one of the problems with the internet is people providing services and products hide behind the internet because they're sensitive. Another problem with the world the way it is nowadays, everyone's, oh, you can't say that. Oh. It's madness, okay? People have to be strong enough to take criticism. Okay, now this feminism garbage, this liberalism nightmare, this disaster which has happened has made it impossible to criticize people. When I grew up, if you had a problem with a store, you would stand there in front of the manager, in front of everyone, you say, this is a heap of bleep, your service is awful, and you need to step on this now, you need to sort this right out, this is a problem, it's unacceptable. And the manager would say, I'm very, very sorry, thank you for bringing it to my attention, sir. In the last 20 years, because of the efforts of this New World Order crowd to corrupt and ruin everything and make the world controllable, they've inculcated in everyone this idea that no, you can't say this, to the point where you've got major industries training their staff to basically hang up on people if they complain too loudly or if they happen to utter a swear word. So the benefit that a company can get from the complaining customer, the customer who actually cares enough to complain and who doesn't just walk out and leave, is gone. And so you've got this situation where you've got people who are afraid of criticism combined with companies who are training those same people to avoid and throw away criticism, and then you've got no connection between the user and the designer. Well, this is what's happened. That's why the world is a mess, because no one can get any complaints across. Because when you're taking over a country, like these New World Order fools have done, and when you're trying to ruin everything and undermine a people's ability to have a say in their own government, well, then it doesn't matter what they say. And that's filtered throughout the whole of society, and we are where we are right now, where you can't get anything done. And it's as close to socialism as you can get, where it doesn't matter what you say, you'll get what you're given. Here's a banana for Christmas, don't like it, here's a bullet. You know, banana or bullet, which one do you want? So that's not what we're after. Okay, computing, as a good example, was meant to free people, give them independence. But again, it's become a disastrous nightmare. So, the answer is a wholesale change of philosophy of our society, rejecting this New World Order globalization garbage completely from the top to the bottom. Everybody has to throw it out the window, ignore it, push it away, just get rid of it and focus on developing decency in themselves, intelligence, and a bit of a thicker skin. You have to be able to take criticism. And you know what? If you don't like it, give a bit back. I mean, you know, listen, but don't be afraid of conflict. Conflict is part of life, it's how you actually understand one another. Alright, if you're sitting there afraid to talk to each other because you might say the wrong thing, you never get anything done. So, this is why these software packages are useless, and all you need is to get the developer and the user to communicate. Please, people, start communicating. Don't worry about being criticized. If you don't like it, give a little back. You know, just fix this.